Hey, what's happening? It's Quinn David Furness. This is the Beantown podcast for Sunday, December 2nd, 2018. What's going on? How is everyone? Good to hear from you. Coming to you live from 817 St. Paul Street in the heart of Beantown, USA, or Baltimore, Maryland, whichever one you want. What's happening? This is Quinn David Furness. This is my podcast. It is the Beantown Podcast, or the People's Podcast, as it is affectionately known by you, the fans, one of Baltimore City's top 500 podcasts. How's it going? We're having a solid day, a solid weekend. Really exciting news on the podcast front. If you go check out Beantown Podcast on Apple Podcasts, you'll see we are up to something like 55 or 60 stars, a whole lot of reviews, a whole lot of ratings, a lot of likes, shares, and subscriptions happening. So if you do like what you're hearing as we approach the 1 year mark of the Beantown Podcast, go ahead and give us a like, share us, subscribe to us wherever you're listening to your podcasts, and leave us a little review as well. In other big news, we have joined Spotify. Oh boy. So for the longest time, we were under the impression that to join Spotify, you had to have some sort of premium subscription. And I dug into it more this week. I really dug into it and found out that with just my RSS feed that I generate, I don't know what's going on with all the Jeff Gold impressions. Apparently, you can just upload it directly from your RSS feed, and now bingo was her name. We're on Spotify, so that's big news. If you've been laboring to get over, to YouTube and SoundCloud and Google Play or Apple Podcasts, but you're saying, "Hey, Quinn, I listen to my podcast on Spotify," which I don't know. I still don't understand the whole Spotify thing. I don't understand the advantage of it. I just feel like it uses up all your data. Spotify seems like the bougie thing for the people who have tons of data or who are willing to pay for it, and that's just not who I am. That's what my iPod is here for. I have an iPod Nano. I think it's either 3rd or 4th gen. I bought it about 11 or 12 years ago, probably at Target, for $125. And this baby, I think it's 8 gigs, has been just killing the game for the longest time. Has been to multiple continents, has been through multiple marathons. It's just, I love it. It's green. Sometimes the little scroll wheel thing stops working. I don't even care because you can shake it and it shuffles, which is pretty neat. So, but back to the original point, all these different platforms are on now. No excuse for saying, "Wow, Quinn, we love your podcast. We just don't know how to access it." Check this out. YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Spotify, and we talked about CastBox a little ways back. I haven't gotten around to uploading more episodes, but the very first installment of the Beantown Podcast is currently live on CastBox.fm. So if you want to check us out there, you can get a little taste, a little sneak peek of what we're all about right now. Listener discretion is advised when you are listening to the Beantown Podcast. Number one, occasionally, depends on the day, occasionally we'll use some NSFW language. And then number two, podcast is just objectively terrible as voted by you, the fans. Thanks, everyone, for your support through all of this. So, what's going on? First of all, thank you to my family members. My Auntie Anna making her Beantown Podcast debut. Got a cough drop going here. Making her Beantown Podcast debut last week, and joined by my first cousin once removed, Sanumi Ogunake. Had a lot of fun. Talked about, getting old. You hit they say 70 is the new 55, and so we kind of talked about some of those topics, but had a good Thanksgiving over in Delaware, and then brought it back to 817 St. Paul Street with Jack, who was on the podcast technically for his 5th time. They haven't all been weekly installments. One of them was a Beantown Unplugged. Actually, 2 of them were Beantown Unplugged specials. But he's now graced our presence 5 times, which was exciting. He gave us some good tips on his favorite interstates, racial stereotypes, just a whole lot of good insight there. So thanks to those family members for doing that. Next week, very excited to announce that we're going to be joined by our holiday season correspondent, Megan. She's going to be talking to us about holiday travel, holiday deals, holiday cooking and baking, Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham. I haven't confirmed this yet. A verbal agreement that if I bring the guitar, she'll bring the voice. So I think that's going to be really exciting. I found out long ago, long way down Holiday Road, Holiday Road, Holiday Road. We once took a road trip, my family and I, to, I believe, Montana, the natural state. And on that ride, my family is big on making mixtapes, although in the 21st century it's more of a mix CD situation for those cars that still have CD players. And on one of them, my brother Jack, who you all know, made a CD that featured Holiday Road as the first song. So, that's the one that's going to get played most often. And for whatever reason, I think that the song just got played too many times. I think one of the primary issues was that on the way back, a couple of my siblings are big on the former CBS show The Mentalist, starring that Aussie guy, Simon Baker. Is that his name? I don't remember. But my dad, unfortunately, got our Mentalist CD from the library jammed in the DVD player, so we ended up having to listen to the CDs we brought from home, and Holiday Road was played early. It was played often, and we all needed a little break from Lindsey Buckingham moving forward. But that's Megan. She's going to be coming on the podcast next week. The week after that, first time ever, Beantown podcast is going to the Big Apple. So we've done a lot of crazy stuff. We've had a lot of fun. In the first year of the Beantown podcast, I'll have to do the count of how many different states we've actually broadcasted live from with the Beantown podcast. Off the top of my head, I would guess close to probably about 10. Because we've done Maryland, Jersey, Pennsylvania. We have been to places like South Dakota, Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana. So we've been all over the place. There's probably close to about 10 different states that we have podcasted from. But we haven't done one from the Big Apple. Never done a podcast from New York City. So we are going up there. We're going to be joined by a couple special guests. If you liked the Anchorage episode, live from Alaska, I think you're going to like the Big Apple episode because it's going to feature the same 3 players, myself, my brother Jack, and then my brother Walt, who will be making his 3rd podcast appearance. So, big things coming, and then after that, we'll be coming to you live another new state from Texas, where we also have not broadcasted live. We'll be down there visiting some family. Grandma Sal of podcast fame maybe making another podcast appearance. Who knows? Grandpa Dave came on the roast, told some really good long stories. We had fun with it. Maybe he'll make another appearance. I don't know. There's a lot to be hammered down yet, but the big announcement is that Christmas Day 2018, I will be home for Christmas. I will be right here in Baltimore, Maryland, Beantown, USA, by myself. And in addition to an audio podcast Christmas special, we are going to be broadcasting live. Not for 1 hour, not for 2 hours, for 24 hours on Christmas Day. We will be broadcasting a live Beantown podcast holiday special, which we're thrilled about. It's always a little sad, when you're home alone, no pun intended, on Christmas. But you know what? Just like Bing Crosby said, I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents by the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. That's actually kind of morbid when you think about it. Maybe morbid isn't the right word. Cryptic maybe better. But that last line, I'll be home for Christmas, is if only in my dreams. The whole song is about coming home for Christmas, and then he ends up saying, only in my dreams. So, I don't know. Someone should go check on Bing Crosby, see if everything's okay over in the Crosby estate. But yeah, we'll be home on Christmas doing a live podcast special. So, that's sort of what's coming up in the next 3-4 weeks. December should be exciting, and then after that, some New Year's stuff, and then I think I'm going to try to work on getting that year one special ready. We're going to hopefully edit some clips from our favorite episodes, and it should be a good time. We don't do a lot of editing here at the Beantown Podcast, so this will be a new endeavor for us, but good stuff. I can put it on my LinkedIn. I can say, edited a best of year one podcast special. And, that's going to bring in the jobs. So the main crux of what we're doing here today is going to be all about the Bratwurst Eating Competition that I participated in 2 days ago. Overall, it's going to be a short episode, under half an hour, because I got other stuff to do. But first, we want to get a quick word from our sponsors. All right, here we go. Home Pride, Oregon. Are you tired of selling your house for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? Well, Oregon listeners, there's good news. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider, with inspection services including things like heating and cooling, roofing, plumbing, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and home inspection certified, so you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate stranglehold on the home inspection market and you want a safe, certified home inspector you can trust, call Steve at 541-207-1101 or visit homeprideoregon.com. That's 541-207-1101 or visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon, inspection perfection. Thank you to our sponsors for bringing us this next segment. So, if you've been following us on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, my Snapchat is just Quinn.Furness. My Instagram is at q.queend. Q.Queend. It used to be Q_Queend. Instagram just randomly changed it multiple months ago, and I didn't figure it out until a couple weeks ago, but my Instagram handle has changed. I didn't know that Instagram had the power to do that. Anyways, that's what it is. You can follow all our stuff there. And then Facebook, Twitter, we are at BeantownCast. Email, BeantownPodcast@yahoo.com. It's BeantownBeantownPodcast@yahoo.com. And the new website coming in the new year. Anyways, big Bratwurst Eating Contest. The 4th annual Baltimore Christmas Market German Village Bratwurst Eating Contest. We participated in it last year, my first year here in Beantown. And so last year, there were probably, I think, 6 of us standing at the table. And this is a pretty big event in terms of just like Christmas market down in Baltimore. You know, they have the huge tent with a ton of vendors in it. It's just a big space, but then the huge open area with seating where people are eating their dinner, drinking their beer, and watching the Bratwurst Eating Contest. So there were about 5 or 6 of us last year, and it was a lot of fun. It was pretty low key. I got second place. I ate about 3 3/4. I lost to Big Mike, who was not actually that big, but Mike probably ate just over 4. And that was in 10 minutes. And this is brats and buns. So these things are probably about, 9 or 10 inches long, and the buns are really tough to eat. So I was proud of myself, but I was also thinking, I'm coming in hard this year. Year 2, I'm coming for that title. I'm trying to snag it away from Big Mike. Of course, he shows up this year. He's got his trophy. But the event overall this year was pretty challenging. It was pretty frustrating. The first problem was that the event was scheduled to take place at 6. You get there at 5:45, check in, everything's good to go. We're waiting at 6:10, 6:15, 6:20. You're thinking, okay, what's going on? All these people are here. We're ready to feast. 6:30, you get pulled over by the event organizers, say, hey, we don't have enough bratwurst cooked right now. Come back in half an hour. So I'm thinking, oh, Jesus. Pretty frustrated because I had brought a bunch of friends, a bunch of coworkers from work to, experience the event, cheer me on, etc., all that good stuff. But I felt, feel bad. It's their Friday night. This isn't what you want to do all Friday night. This isn't what I want to do all Friday night. But I digress. So come back about 7:10, 7:15. We finally get some action. But here's the problem. It wasn't the bratwurst action you were looking for. This scrawny white guy from Dundalk, Scott, his name is, gets up on stage. He's like one of the event organizers, the host. I don't know exactly what his specific role or title or salary was, but he gets up on stage. I'm thinking, okay, Scott's going to bring us up. We're going to start the Bratwurst Eating Contest. This is great. Here we go. Could not be more mistaken. Scott is, like myself, a wannabe comedian. Scott did his stand-up act for about 15 minutes. In it, you got to have some bad shows, some rough shows at the start of your career if you're going to be great. But Scott, I tell you what, if you're listening to this, bud, wasn't great. You need some new material, not just new material, but better material. Here was the biggest problem. You got to know your audience. You got to know your context when you're doing a stand-up act. You don't go to Philly and make fun of Rocky or the Liberty Bell or cheesesteaks. It's just, you're going to get thrown out of town. Likewise, you don't open for a bratwurst eating competition by doing a 5-minute stand-up bit about urination and how men pee and how women pee. I'm not saying that you can't do a fun bit about urination. Gender roles, there's always good stuff in that, just as a large-scale concept. But when you're opening for an eating competition in which people will be feeling queasy, in which vomit may be induced, boy, I tell you what, I don't know if it affected the other competitors the way it affected me, but talking about urination habits immediately preceding a competition in which I'm trying to get down as many sausages and buns as possible, it was not good. And just the whole thing, Scott, wasn't great. I appreciate you for going up there and doing your best, but woof, that was tough. So finally, around like 7:30 or so, we get pulled up to the stage, and there were a lot of people. There were like 9. It was really crowded. We're all guys, too. And not like, guys of all different sizes. Like, probably all around 6 feet tall and taller. There were some really tall guys there. And, there were, maybe 1 or 2 guys who were skinnier. But most of us probably 200 plus pounds easy. The competition was a lot more fierce this year, just like Allie Raisman's new book. Check it out. Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy your books, you can read Allie Raisman's Fierce. But there were 9 of us. The competition rules changed a little bit. So last year we couldn't dunk because we just had water bottles. So we were allowed to drink, but we weren't allowed to dunk because it physically wasn't possible. This year they gave us cups, so we could dunk, which I was a little perturbed by because... Not because I have anything against dunking, just because they didn't announce that rule change going into this year. Then you show up and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can dunk. But 9 of us, and the rules changed. Last year it was just how many can you eat in 10 minutes. This year it was first 1 to 7 wins or whoever's eaten the most after 15 minutes. And when they announced that, I knew I was toast. The only chance that I potentially had was winning a sprint, the 10-minute track, the 10-minute circuit. Even then, I wasn't going to have a chance. But I knew that if it was just how many can you get down, it wasn't going to go well. One, I've been dieting the last 5 weeks or so, and my stomach has shrunk considerably. My appetite, particularly around dinner time, much lower than what it usually is. But number 2, the whole Scott urine bit just really threw me for a loop. So even before it started, I knew it wasn't going to happen. But we get going, and there are some big guys. There's Gomez, who worked for T-Mobile. I was 2 positions down from him, so I could see him pretty well. After I hit about 2, I knew that I wasn't going anywhere. That I was just having fun at this point, and I felt bad because you want to put on a good show, but I also really didn't want to puke. It's just. If I was just like doing this at home and puking, it'd be like, yeah, okay, I can, whatever. But you're in front of a crowd of probably, 200 people. Not exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm looking over at Gomez as, we get to like the 7-8 minute mark, and he's on bratwurst like number 4 or 5. And I'm thinking, because I was only at like 3 at this point. I'm like cheering for Gomez now. The guys on either side of me also were like out of it. So now, Gomez is just killing these, and we're thinking, oh, this guy's got it. Like, here's our new champion. So the defending champion Mike was all the way on the other end. We couldn't see how he was doing, but I knew last year he had just over 4 in 10 minutes. So I'm thinking, another 5 minutes. He's not going to be able to eat 2 in those 5 minutes. So he's probably maxing out at about 5. That's just how our stomachs work. And I'm already seeing Gomez working on number 5, so I'm thinking, okay, Gomez, here's our guy. And the competition is getting, towards the end. We're at about the 13, 14-minute mark, so about 1 minute left, 1.5 minutes left, and all of a sudden it's over. Announced that 7 have been eaten. I'm looking over at Gomez, and he's not on his 7th yet. And so I was pretty shocked. And there's another guy, like 2 slots down from Gomez, who had eaten 7, and this guy just he was probably about 6'3", 6'4", probably weighed a solid amount, but he wasn't fat. He's just muscular. I don't remember what his name was. We can check the tape, but he made us all look foolish. I don't know exactly how many Mike ate. I ate about 3.5. I could have pushed myself to 4 and maybe thrown up, maybe not. But, knowing that Gomez was already on, 5, 6, I was like, there's no, this is silly. So all in all, I don't have, overall placements. I had finished with about 3.5. I know I beat the 2 guys on either side of me because they kind of gave up before I did. But I think out of the 9, probably finished about 4th or 5th. I know the highest I possibly went was 3rd because I knew the guy who won obviously won, and then Gomez was way ahead of me. I couldn't see anything else going on. judging by how they were acting, though, they probably had more than I did. So I think 4th or 5th is probably pretty accurate. So not the second place finish we got last year. Definitely a little bit disappointed. But I will say that I didn't expect to do as well this year because of the diet. And then Scott's stand-up bit really took it to a whole new level. But I'm proud of myself, and I want to thank my friends and my coworkers for coming out to support. If you want to see the video, so this is something that I was really happy to have, because last year all we had was an Instagram live story in that 24 hours. It wasn't even on my Instagram page because I didn't have an Instagram page, but I was able to get it captured on my phone this year. I haven't gone back and watched the full tape, but it is on my Facebook page, but it's also on the YouTube page. So if you're, listening to Beantown Podcast on YouTube right now, you can physically just click into my page. You can find it. If you're not, just, find me, Quinn, Furness on YouTube. And the footage is there. It's the full contest, about 15 minutes long. So you can see that. I got a chance to promote the podcast a little bit in the middle of the podcast, or in the middle of the competition, after I knew that I was going to have no chance of winning. Scott gave me a little platform to support the podcast. So always good to get that out there. But that was the Bratwurst Eating Contest that we did on Friday. It was a lot of fun. Otherwise, life is solid. I got to go back to the doctor tomorrow. Still having tonsil issues. We're at about a month now. It's pretty frustrating. But we're going to try to get that sorted out. Maybe get some higher powered drugs this time. So, that is what this week's podcast was all about. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, for listening. Again, if you like what you hear, whatever platform you're on, leave us a comment, rate us 5 stars, share it with your friends. Again, the Beantown Podcast, #1 podcast for all things absurd. And it is one of Baltimore City's top 500 podcasts. So that's a pretty sterling recommendation there. That's what I got for you. Don't forget to like us, follow us on Twitter at BeantownCast. You can email us beantownpodcast@yahoo.com. That's Beantown, BEANTOWN, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, all that good stuff. So thanks, everyone, for tuning into this episode. I hope you appreciate a little bit shorter, no frills, nothing too fancy. Go subscribe, find that Bratwurst Eating Contest clip on YouTube. It's right on my personal YouTube page. Pretty easy to see. That's what I got for everyone. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll come to you next weekend with our holiday correspondent, Megan. She's going to have some good tips for you. You're not going to want to miss it. Okay, everyone, have a good week. We'll check in on you later.